There are moments in life when the world feels too heavy, when even the strongest among us begin to doubt if we were ever meant to rise at all. It's like carrying wings. You've forgotten how to use wings that once promised freedom, but now only feel like a burden. This is the story of Emily Carter. Emily grew up in a quiet town in North Carolina, surrounded by rolling hills and endless skies. As a little girl, she had big dreams. She wanted to be an artist, to fill canvases with colors that spoke louder than words ever could. Her teachers used to tell her parents, "That girl has something rare. She sees the world differently." And it was true. Emily had a way of finding beauty in the ordinary. But life doesn't always nurture our gifts. Sometimes it buries them. By the time she was 28, Emily was working in a small insurance office. Every day looked the same. Long hours, endless paperwork, a boss who never remembered her name, and coworkers who treated her like she was invisible. Her paints sat untouched in the corner of her apartment, gathering dust. She told herself that one day she would paint again. One day, when things weren't so busy. One day, when she had the energy. One day, when she finally felt like she was worth something. But one day never came. And so, piece by piece, her dreams slipped away. Her wings, the ones she once spread so fearlessly as a child, had been folded in on themselves. She had forgotten what it felt like to fly. The turning point came on an ordinary Wednesday evening. Emily left work late, exhausted and numb, and stopped by a small diner near her apartment. She slid into a booth and ordered coffee, just needing something warm to hold. At the next booth over, a little girl sat sketching in a notebook, her tongue poking out slightly as she concentrated. The girl's mother smiled and said, "You're always drawing, Lily. Don't you ever get tired?" The girl shook her head quickly, clutching her pencil. "No, Mommy, I have to keep drawing. What if I forget how?" Those words hit Emily like lightning. What if I forget how? She froze, her cup halfway to her lips. Something inside her cracked open, because deep down, she realized that was exactly what had happened to her. She had forgotten how to dream, how to create, how to believe in the wings she was born with. And that was the moment, right there in that small-town diner, when Emily's life began to change. She went home that night and pulled out her old paint box. The colors were dry, the brushes stiff, but she didn't care. She spread an old sheet across the floor, turned on a lamp, and began to paint. At first, it felt awkward, like learning to walk again. Her hands were shaky, her strokes uneven. But as the hours passed, something awakened inside her. She lost track of time. When she finally stopped, she looked at the canvas and saw not perfection, but freedom. She cried that night not because she was sad, but because she realized how much of herself she had abandoned. And in that moment, she made a promise. Never again. Of course, promises are easy to make in the heat of passion. The real test is keeping them when the world pushes back. The next morning, her alarm rang for work, and every part of her wanted to stay in bed. But she went. She sat through another long day of meaningless tasks, and for the first time, she thought, "I don't belong here anymore." Weeks passed. She kept painting at night, sometimes until dawn. Her walls began to fill with canvases, each one brighter and bolder than the last. She felt alive again. But the other side of her life, the bills, the responsibilities, felt like chains pulling her back down. And then came the decision that would change everything. Her company announced layoffs. Names were being called out, one by one. When her manager finally said, "Emily Carter," she felt a strange mix of panic and relief. She was out. She was free. But also, she was terrified. What would she do now? How would she pay rent? Was this the universe giving her a chance, or taking away her safety net? That night, Emily sat alone in her apartment, staring at her unfinished canvases. Fear clawed at her chest. She thought about applying for another office job, something stable, something safe. But deep down, she knew that would only bury her wings all over again. So she made a decision. She wasn't going back. She would give herself 1 year. 1 year to see if her art could carry her, 1 year to remember how to fly. The next months were brutal. She lived on savings, skipped meals, and worked harder than she ever had in her life. She set up a small booth at local art fairs. At first, people only glanced at her work. Some walked by without a word. Others smiled politely, but kept moving. Every rejection felt like a dagger. But then one day a woman stopped in front of her painting. It was a large canvas of a bird, wings outstretched, but painted in colors no bird had ever worn. The woman stood there for a long time, then whispered, "This feels like me." She bought it on the spot. It wasn't just a sale. It was proof that her art mattered, proof that her wings were real. Word began to spread. Slowly, her name appeared in small local galleries. Then came commissions. Then came a feature in the city paper. And before she knew it, the girl who had once buried her dreams under office paperwork was living the life she had once only imagined. But here's the part that matters most. Emily's story isn't about overnight success. It isn't about luck or talent or even timing. It's about remembering. Remembering the wings she was born with. Remembering that the gift inside her was never gone, it was just waiting for her to come back. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. Maybe you too have wings that you've forgotten how to use. Maybe life buried your gift under responsibilities, failures, or fear. Maybe you've convinced yourself that your dreams were childish, unrealistic, impossible. But let me tell you this, wings never disappear. They wait, quietly, patiently, until the day you're brave enough to spread them again. The little girl in the diner reminded Emily, and now Emily's story reminds you. So if you've been waiting for a sign to begin again, this is it. Don't let another year, another decade, slip away while your wings gather dust. Take them out, stretch them. They may feel weak at first, but with every attempt, they'll grow stronger. Because the truth is, flying was never about perfection. It was always about remembering that you were meant to rise. And one day, when you finally lift off, you'll wonder why you ever doubted yourself at all. So don't wait. Don't let your wings forget how to fly.